Greetings. Welcome to STAR, Space-Time Adventures at RIT. This week we're going to be talking about swearing in sci-fi, but before that I have a couple of announcements. First up, membership. If you want to be a little more involved in STAR, if you want to have some of the benefits of membership, which include discounts to our events and discounts to some of our stuff like t-shirts, then buy a membership. It's $6 a semester and $10 a year. Speaking of t-shirts, you're wearing one of our t-shirts. Hello. They're pretty nifty. They say STAR on them, because that's us. T-shirts are $15 for non-members and $10 for members, or if you just want to hand us a $20 for membership and a t-shirt, that's pretty sweet, because $20 is a convenient bill, and it's just a single money. That's right now. We also take card. If you would like to purchase stuff from us, please see Tulio. That's him. He deals with all of the money, because that's his job. He's good at it. You are good at it. We also have sodas in that little fridge down there with the stars and the moon on it. Sodas are $1 each. You want to buy it? Go see Tulio. We also have keychains, which I just got stuck on my finger. They look like this. They're little UFOs, and they say STAR on them. And they're blue. They're also $1. So we also have a Slack channel. Slack is not on there right now, but it is sort of like Discord, which some of you may be familiar with. It's like on forums. Oh, we're going to Slack. That's Slack. But on Slack, it has pictures instead of blocks and names instead of other blocks. And it's fun because we have different chat rooms, like there is our general chat where anyone can talk about any sort of sci-fi stuff, and we also give announcements for the stuff that STAR is doing on Slack because it's a convenient place where a lot of people get their info. We just hit 100 Slack members, which is pretty cool for us. Yay! If you would like to join us on Slack, it is ritstar.slack.com. It's a fun time. We also have direct links to that in our email and all that fun stuff. Continuing on, a ton of you came to see Kingsman with us last week. That was really fun. I had fun. And not this Saturday, but next Saturday, we're going to go see Blade Runner 2049. Saturday, October 7th at the 7 p.m. showing. We're going to be meeting at 5:30 p.m. downstairs in the SAU lobby, right outside of Nathan's. That's going to be fun. We're going to carpool there, which is why we set up the leaving time. We have a Facebook event for that, so if you're interested, it helps if we get numbers beforehand, so please RSVP. To buy a ticket from STAR, at STAR, we will be doing that next week, and tickets are $10 each. And if you are able to drive, we would love to have more drivers help us with the carpool, because that means less trips. Are willing to drive with us, please join the Away Mission Driver Slack. That's on our Slack, which is that. It is helpful. Also, the computer science community is doing a showing of Blade Runner, the first one. If you want to, if either you haven't seen it before or you haven't seen it in a while or really just want to see it again before the next one comes out, they're doing that this Friday at 5 p.m. A300. Yeah.
Do you know which cut of Blade Runner they are screening?
The final cut, not the theatrical one.
Okay. Groovy. So yeah, if you want to see that before you go see the second one, then you should go do that. Committees, such as PR committee. They designed the lovely logo on the t-shirts and also all of our posters. If you'd like to be involved in that, in poster design, or be involved in some of our cool PR stunts, like standing out in the middle of winter in a Starfleet uniform, it's fun. It's cold. It's fun though. Then please join PR committee. We meet every Wednesday. This week it is in SAU 1010, which is right downstairs, and we meet at 8 p.m. It's a fun time. We also have a webmaster committee. STAR has a website, and they do that. Exactly that. That's what they do. They make magic come out of computers. But we have a pretty groovy website, and there is other stuff we want to be able to do with it. The website is what we use to make our ID cards too. So it's a pretty big deal, and it's pretty neat. If you would like to be involved in that, there is a meeting this coming Sunday, October 1st at 5 p.m. in the SAU, and we will give you an update for the and if you can't make it to that meeting because we're all busy, you're welcome to join website Slack. It's a Slack channel. Slack is fun. We're also going to have Starfest committee. Starfest is STAR's annual sci-fi convention. We have this convention in this building, like all of it, and it's really fun. We are like a big convention. It's really fun. Last year we were able to have vendors, which is really awesome. We have panels, we have performances, we collaborate with a bunch of other clubs just so that we can get all the sci-fi nerdiness just condensed for your viewing pleasure. It's a good time. If you'd like to be involved in making that, we would really appreciate your help, especially the input of people who haven't done it before, because we know how we think we sound, but bring us a lot of you for the first time, and your input really matters. So other cool stuff going on this weekend in Rochester. What's going on in your town, which is Rochester? The Rock Game Fest is happening this Saturday. The Rock Game Fest is where a lot of groups will be debuting their new video games. We have a couple of old Bridge Crew members who are going to be there with their games, like we have Cheating Death, because I know that those play tests really got around. It's really fun. It's about the inevitability of death, but in a fun board game. And Zachary is also going to be there with his game Banana Split. Hey Zachary, when and where is that?
The Rochester Game Festival is at the Irondequoit Public Library from noon to 5 p.m.
It's going to be fun.
On Saturday.
Yeah. If you want to just play test a bunch of games and give feedback, it's a good time. I'm going to go. And also, we would like to congratulate two of our founding Bridge Crew members, Justin and Jenny, who just got engaged last night. Yeah. It's sweet. They're cute. And now we're going to start our mission, which is swearing in sci-fi.
Yay!
Oh boy, it is. So I'm Ava Enoch. I'm your captain, and that is Zachary Yarrow.
Zachary.
He is also a captain.
By rank, but not by position.
Yes.
So yes, hi, welcome to Swearing in Sci-Fi. First off, before we get into it, you are likely to hear some curse words this evening.
What? I'm sorry.
Yes.
This is worthy of note because Star generally, especially because of the live stream, tries to keep to a PG-13 rating with respect to language and in general, but tonight we are going to drift into R for language.
So kids, or if your parents say not to listen to stuff with cursing, go to bed. Please. Don't let us get you in trouble. It's not worth it.
To be clear
But
though, this is use of non-fictional curse words for the purpose of academic discussion. This is for science. We are not condoning use of curse words to offend people in Star, on Slack, or anywhere for that matter. That said, if use of this language tends to offend you, or if you're on the live stream and your parents are going to get you in trouble, then it's totally fine if this mission isn't your cup of tea. You're welcome to sit this one out. We're not going to be offended. Moving on.
So, like, why not just curse? So, in a lot of the media that we consume, definitely in sci-fi, a lot of it is considered family friendly, and family friendly typically means they do not curse, because usually parents don't want kids exposed to that kind of stuff, which we can debate that at a later time because that's not what we're here to talk about. Another reason is that these words can be pretty offensive sometimes, especially terms that are derived to be derogatory towards certain groups of people. So, really appropriate for having things family friendly also means that more people are allowed to view it. And the lower the profanity rating, the wider the possible audience you get.
So before we get into made up curse words and other sci-fi phrases, it can help consider what makes a curse word a curse. Most common curse words today tend to refer to religion, sex, or bodily functions in general. And in the past, cultures from which our society evolved considered sex and bodily functions dirty and religion deserving of high praise. So in short, that's basically where a lot of cursing comes from. Not under that umbrella, kind of like Ava said, tend to be those that attack especially minority groups, and they're generally considered a different flavor of curse words than the sort of general curse words that we're more thinking of here. The parallels of those in sci-fi tend to just be other made-up terms that offensively refer to alien groups. Those are sort of different from what I wanted to go into here, which is more of, oops. So profanity, what is generally what people talk about when they talk about, what you hear Deadpool spouting off all the time. Interestingly, comes from originally just disrespect for things that are considered sacred. Or sometimes, if you go way back, literally just things outside the temple. Damn has similar roots coming from to condemn. If you go back further, it's just to blame or to reject or to penalize. In a religious context, to condemn someone to hell. And for people who don't consider those things as important now, those roots still stay with us or have stayed with us, and so those words tend to get censored. The other common curse words, as I said, tend to have to do with bodily functions. Whether they're considered curse words or not, tend to just have to do with their origins, which I think is interesting. So, for instance, a Germanic originated term is considered offensive. Latin-derived terms are just the technical terms. In some variation of shit exists in most languages and cultures as some sort of similar expression, because it turns out poop being dirty transcends most cultures, because we're all human. The origin of another word is a bit more debated. It didn't necessarily originate with a sexual connotation, but it has evolved to more definitely have one. It is sort of a curse in the sense of insulting people by requesting that they perform sexual acts possibly against their will or in a servile or degrading manner, but it has also, it took on an offensive meaning, in the past because of people who just considered sex to be dirty. The Latin-derived terms are not necessarily things you would bring up in polite company, but they're not the Germanic-derived ones, so only these ones get censored. And other sexual terms tend to have the same thing, dick or cunt, or as autocorrect tried to make them when I was typing my notes, duck and cut. Being called a prick, a pussy, a cocksucker, are all basically derived from people treating anything to do with sex as dirty, and therefore it is insulting to be in any way compared to that. Changing notes a bit, I love Yiddish curses. They are some of the best. You are not going to get censored for using a Yiddish curse, because there are pretty much no words that are inherently seen as offensive. They are not as quick and simple as an English four-letter word, but as the Yiddish saying goes, a curse is not a telegram. It doesn't have to arrive quickly. Some of the best ones roughly translate to, may you have a delicious feast for every meal, and may you choke on every bite. Or may you have a large store, and what people ask for you shouldn't have, and what you have shouldn't be requested. Or a more simple one, may you lose all your teeth except one, and may that one ache. And then finally, there are a lot of alternatives to cursing that aren't inherently sci-fi. We use a lot of these every day. Some people just make up words or phrases that sound similar, or that sound like exclamations that you can say quickly. They might even be four-letter words. They are often interjections.
For emotion?
Exactly. And this sometimes does affect sci-fi.
You stop.
Indeed. This has actually affected sci-fi. If you've ever seen the TV, save for regular TV dub of The Matrix, Neo, upon discovering his first Matrixy creature thing that the tracker they put in, exclaims, "Jeepers creepers!" Which you could argue whether or not that packs the same punch as his original "holy shit." Another common option is to just come up with a sound that is similar but not quite the same. Or if you know another language, then you might just throw in a mer, because that's not going to be censored by English censors. If you don't know that one, feel free to Google Translate it later. This also works just if you know a more obscure English synonym. There was a bio teacher at my high school who liked to explain feces when he was frustrated.
My physics teacher in high school just called us all dirtbags.
That will also not get censored. Anyway, and another way a teacher might censor himself is...
So, a lot of you know of Danny Phantom. It was awesome. And so many of us remember Vice Principal Lancer. Vice Principal Lancer had a lot of unpleasant things happen to him because ghosts happened, and that's weird. And he would exclaim book titles. And now we have a video for your viewing pleasure of him doing that.
Paradise of the Lost! Loving, death, Gulliver's Travels, Pride and Prejudice, Chicken Soup to the Soul, Lord of the Flies, Bridget Jones' Diary, Adventures of Huck Finn, Grace of Wrathcraft, Galactiano, Bridget Dollars, War of the Worlds, Pet Food Mix, 70 hour motorcycle maintenance, 7-peach diet, accident, background, Opera in October, To Kill a Mockingbird, Prince and the Pauper, Sister of the Traveling Pants, Light of the Caveman.
As you can see, they sometimes had something to do with what was going on, but usually not.
Cool. Meanwhile, in the 23rd and 24th century, so interestingly, Star Trek does not really censor itself. It just never quite goes past hell and damn, which is kind of interesting because those are the ones derived from religion rather than derived from other sources. So I don't know really where this meme came about because I'm pretty sure Picard never says that.
He's quoting Shakespeare in that scene.
Oh, in that scene, yeah, he's quoting Shakespeare, fun fact. But I don't think he ever says fuck in the entire show. I mean, he's Patrick Stewart. He has a certain level of dignity.
You obviously haven't seen him drunk.
That is true. He does say that in Logan. Fine, Jean-Luc Picard.
Also, he plants a poop emoji in the emoji movie.
That's true. So Jean-Luc Picard might be above. Interestingly, there's not a whole lot of alien cursing in Star Trek. The argument largely being, well, they all have universal translators, so we can just translate it all into damn. There is one notable exception, though, which is Klingon, which is most complete fictional language created for a fictional characters in a fictional universe. Cursing is, as you might expect if you know anything about Klingons, pretty common for them. You would not end a conversation with a Klingon by saying, have a nice day, but rather, and I apologize for my pronunciation, Pevul Muk Kwabjimit, which roughly translates to curse well. Petach is by far the most commonly used curse word. Its root, because Klingon is a deep enough language that words have roots, comes from the word for to be weird. So you're basically, they invented a more offensive version of calling someone a weirdo. Like English, they also have various expressions of anger, but rather than limiting themselves to just damn, darn, and dang, they have bakwa, kwe or kwe sha, kulya, kulva, or va, among others. There are more. It would take a while to go through them all. But other Klingon curses do tend to at least go more in the Yiddish direction of words that are not inherently expletives, but rather insulting someone's honor or someone's family, like saying, "Gach so bek," he doesn't eat gach, which is basically calling someone a coward, or the most offensive curse in all of Star Trek, "Klab so sil post," which means your mother has a smooth forehead.
You can't say that on the live stream.
We warned them. Just don't tell Captain America I said that.
Language.
So, we also have Mork and Mindy. For those of you who aren't super familiar with it, Mork and Mindy was a TV show from the 70s. It was originally a spin-off of Happy Days, where they wanted the character Mork, who is Robin Williams, who is also an alien. They had him like come in and do weird alien stuff on Happy Days, but then they decided this new Robin Williams dude is super entertaining. Let's give him a TV show. This is like his first big thing, which is really cool because Robin Williams is neat. But so his character Mork is an Orkin, which is a type of alien. And there are a handful of Orkin phrases used in the show. You guys may be familiar with Nanu Nanu, which isn't offensive, but Shasbat, and they use it a lot because they don't have to censor that. They made up the word completely. But it's fun. It's an expletive. And it did what they needed it to do.
Now, if that's not enough made-up slang for you, hold your horses.
Oh.
This Battlestar Galactica, as some of you might know, makes up a lot of arbitrary terms. They didn't all make it into the more recent remake, but some of them still did, especially the most famous one. This is a quick overview and a quick shout out to Star's former captain, Derek Witt. Hopefully he's watching on the live stream or at some point later. If not, someone tell him he got a shout out. He is one of the biggest BSG fan Star's ever had, and I was largely able to make this as complete as it is thanks to his old notes. So imagine, if you will, that you want your language to have that little something extra. Do you need ways to describe things without using terms from regular, everyday English? Do you want to be able to swear on television without being censored by that pesky FCC? Then you are in the right place. Consider for a moment time. It is so rigid and so inconvenient to your convoluted plot. Why not replace your years, months, weeks, hours with yarns, quatrains, sectons, centaurs, sentence, and microsentence? All of these units are entirely fuzzy and totally subject to change as the plot demands it. What about fuel? After Star Trek, you might be worried that people will poke holes in your theories about lithium crystals because that's not how physics works. Well, why not use solium and tylium? They might be the same thing, but no one can say for sure they are not fuel. And of course, profanities and insults. You can't say those goddamn Cylons on TV. No, you must say those gal-monging Cylons. Or if you prefer, those mong-raking Cylons. It's basically the same thing. Just by those gal-monging Cylons, don't say, oh shit. Say Felgercar or Pogies. And if you fell on your ass, you would get censored, but not if you fell on your astrum. And of course, there's frack. It literally just replaces the word fuck. It has the same sounds. It might have originally been spelled F-R-A-C-K, but now it's officially a 4-letter word. People have sort of tried to retcon an etymology into this, saying it evolves from freck, which is an old English adjective for eager or greedy, but no, it's just frack. Let's try to do some of this together. Repeat after me. Frack those gal-monging Cylons.
Frack those gal-monging Cylons.
Nice. Here, let's try one more. I am fracking fed up with this Felger card.
I am fracking fed up with this Felger card.
You are now ready to serve on the Galactica.
So, Farscape does pretty similar stuff that BSG did. New words that are English, but they just made them up so that they can curse on TV. They use Frel and Dren, and also new units of measurement so that they don't have to actually keep track of like time and stuff, because that's confusing in space.
Else doesn't like it when.
We also have Doctor Who. Doctor Who usually steers pretty clear of profanity just because it's supposed to be a kid's show. But they do have Krupp, which isn't really used anymore, like in New Who. It was used for a little bit during the 7th Doctor's run with one specific companion, Brittany Summerfield, liked to use it quite a bit. They actually gave it the word a canon history. Originally, in New Earth colonies, like on other planets and stuff, it was a primitive home construction method. And then it became associated with extreme poverty. It then ended up being used as like a taunting, abusive term, kind of like a derogatory term that we are familiar with these terms. They are not nice. But as of the 26th century, it evolved to just become a popular curse word. Like, instead of saying fuck, you would say cruck. Yeah. One of those. They use crick, which, I mean, they took the word frick and they swapped the F and K sounds, and that's all they did. They also sort of replaced cursing a lot with just screaming, which that works.
No!
Do not want. Is there a version of that out there on the internet somewhere where he just yells fuck?
If you make it, maybe?
I don't know about this scene, but I'm sure Mark Hamill has at some point behind the scenes. So you can probably dig something up. And if not, there's always video editing.
Also, if you look up the badly retranslated version of Star Wars 3 that is now called the third Star Wars, the Third Gathers, Backstroke of the West.
Oh boy.
On YouTube. It is so full of profanity and things you don't want to think about.
It is possibly the best movie ever made.
Is that the one that was like automated, translated to like Chinese and back to English or
I
something?
think it was manually
Yeah.
translated.
Oh, okay. I've seen those like bad Google Translate edits. Those are a time.
They're an adventure.
Speaking of adventure,
Adventure time! So, Adventure time, they don't curse a lot. They are very much a kid's show until they decide to punch your emotions and become a real plot.
It goes really strangely.
Yeah. It ends up having like real plot and feels, and you're not prepared. But in terms of cursing, instead of God, they usually say glob. And for everything else, they just say lump. Just that's what they do. It's a good time. Oh my glob was a big thing in like middle and high school among the people who were very into Adventure Time.
or because I'm late high school and early college.
That too.
Speaking of stuff that just sounds more random, Hitchhiker's Guide. So, in case you didn't know, you want to watch out for this if you ever leave Earth, because this word, which apologies to people on the stream who might get offended because this might be more offensive than the Star Trek one, Belgium is the most offensive and rudest word in the universe. And by a strange coincidence, also the name of a country on Earth.
Oops.
It is basically completely banned in almost the entire galaxy, except for one part where they could not possibly know what it means. Yes?
Didn't that thing Arthur said start a war?
Yes.
Swallowed by a dog?
Arthur did say, I don't remember what it was, but he did say something that triggered a war. But that was just offensive.
Like a wormhole popped up, Arthur said something, those those words.
Travel through the wormhole and were heard at a place where they were negotiating for peace.
That's true, yes. Arthur said something, it went through wormhole to the middle of peace talks, and it offended one side, thus causing a war. However, that was only offensive to that one person. Belgium is offensive in like 99% of the galaxy. Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Then you probably got destroyed. If you happen to make it off-world, then you're going to learn pretty quickly not to say that. Really offended.
You say you're an Earthling, and that's it.
Or the G-word.
So, fun behind-the-scenes fact. This basically exists because Douglas Adams' U.S. publisher didn't want him to use the word fuck, so he decided, as you'd expect him to do, to make it worse, swapping in Belgium and adding a whole section explaining why Belgium. Zarking is one of those religiously derived terms. There are the people who predict the second coming of the great prophet Zarkon. And so you have Zarking. Those Zarking Cylons, if you want to cross fandoms.
Also, the Hawkeye comics, they do one of the more standard replacements for cursing, and they use the word futz, which is a fun four-letter word. They use it every now and then. It isn't really used in a lot else, but that's what they use for the Hawkeye comics, and they're cool. And if you want to read them, you should. They're fun. And now we go to Firefly. So, that went dark. Come back. No. Yeah, Firefly. So, Firefly does that super fun thing where they're like, okay, so Earth, you have people and Mandarin Chinese speaking people. And so we're going to talk mostly in English, but we're going to curse in Chinese. A lot of the things that they say are not actually curses. They're just weird things to say. But in Chinese and sounding angry, it sure sounds like cursing. Like, Shen Cheng de Gao Wan. No, that's what it means. As far as like, so I analyzed these to make sure that like the characters were right and the translations were mostly right. I used like other sources to help me out as a base because I took some Chinese, but like I'm not that good at Chinese. But so to me, it sort of feels like the writers went to someone and said, I really want to say, instead of cursing, I want to say, Holy Mother of God and all her wacky nephews. Can I say that in Chinese? And someone else went, kinda. And so instead you get, 我的妈和她的疯狂的微生动. So 我的 is my, ma is mom, and 她的 is her in this case. And then 疯狂的睾丸, goodness. 疯狂的微生动 is kind of wacky nephews. Like instead of wacky, it's more like misbehaving, bad, but then those words sort of put together and they mean wacky pretty much, like close enough. But a lot of the Chinese in Firefly, especially with the translations, is close enough. Like the translation I originally found for this was Holy Testicle Tuesday. And then I looked at it and went, there is no Tuesday here. Because there is no Tuesday. Shen Sheng is, it means holy for, like, it means holy, kind of. One of these is sacred, and the other one also kind of means sacred, so holy. Duh just means it belongs to that. And then Gaoan is testicle. There is no Tuesday there. I was mad about this. I felt betrayed. But also, Firefly does the, we're going to make up our own curse word, which is Goram, which is just goddamn mushed together, which is fun. So Firefly is fun. I like Firefly. They don't actually curse a lot. Weird. Also, Homestuck. Okay, so Homestuck is a webcomic that some of you may have heard of.
Tell them about bubble stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty darn long. What? No, dude.
And now we got Fire Swap.
Yes. So Homestuck is a webcomic. It is pretty long. It starts out as like these 4 kids who want to try out like this new game, and that game kind of ends up destroying the world, and then actual plot happens because that's not the actual plot.
Thanks, Jumanji. More like actual filler.
It has a lot of stuff. It's a good time. It's a big time commitment. But a lot of the characters, they are teenagers. Like there are teenage humans, and then there are teenage aliens that are called trolls. You may have seen them at cons. They are painted gray, and they're pretty darn cool. I like Homestuck. But a lot of the characters actually curse a lot. Like they just go at it. They're like teenager who learned a new word and is gonna use it. Gosh darn it! But also, a lot of their conversations happen over instant messaging. So you get people's typing quirks, which is like a big thing in like building for them. But also you get typos and running jokes because it's instant messaging with people who are your friends sometimes. But some of the fun ones are Troll Jesus, which came around because someone misspelled Jesus when they said, "Oh Jesus," or "Jesus Christ," and then they're like, "Wait, Jesus? What is that?" Because the trolls don't have Jesus. They're aliens. And so it evolved into Troll Jesus. And also, Bivich, which is bitch. But someone spelled it wrong at one point, and it sure stuck. I'm sure a lot of you have those fun friend group. And this is pretty much that. And it is very well developed because there is a ton of it. Homestuck is fun. Check it out if you have a lot of time. Oh, also, trolls, which are the alien race, they, like a super, super taboo thing for them is buckets because it has to do with troll reproduction. So like, often misunderstandings with the humans about like, oh, I have offended them because of cleaning supplies. I will keep all my cleaning supplies away now. But no, it's just buckets, and it's weird, and it's pretty darn funny.
Let's hope they never meet Odo.
Oh, that'd be bad. That'd be real bad. If any of you have questions about Homestuck later, I might be able to answer them. It's fun.
So, some works go the other way and don't make out their own profanity. They just go all in on, let's use real profanity. Sometimes it's, I don't want to say tastefully done. Sometimes it can be tastefully done. Sometimes it's just cleverly done. And other times it's that guy.
Yeah. So if we get into Wolverine, Wolverine is known for his foul mouth. In a lot of the cartoons, he says like muckraking or something like that, or dump truck. It's weird. It's weird. Look it up. It's funny. Or he just yells.
It's a lot to do with like dirt, just
Yeah.
literal dirt and mud.
Yeah.
Is their substitute.
He just yells a lot, and that sort of replaces it. But it helps that he's in like the yellow spandex, so he already looks kind of silly. But in the movies, the X-Men and Wolverine movies are usually like PG-13, and they allow Wolverine to have one fuck to give. I'm proud of that one. I would like to point out how incredible an actor Hugh Jackman is, because he is both angry and Canadian in these, and it really comes across as both, which is like, what?
Yeah, well, he's not short and hairy, which is how Wolverine's supposed to be.
I mean, he's like tall and hairy.
He should have been dating DeVito.
Well, Hugh Jackman is done playing Wolverine now. Danny DeVito has a chance.
Oh my god. I'd see that, but I'd be sad.
I feel like I could get over it.
I'd be sad.
I would miss Hugh Jackman, but I could get over
I
it.
like Hugh Jackman a lot.
Anyways, speaking of X-Men,
Oh, yeah. Speaking of X-Men, so Deadpool he hangs out in the X-Men continuity, especially in his latest movie where he found the 2 X-Men who were home. Yeah, and he pointed that out because fourth walls don't matter, but also profanity doesn't matter. So, as many of you probably are, yeah?
As long as it's one short of an NC-17 rating.
Yes, but like as many of you remember, it was a pretty big deal when Deadpool actually got the R rating.
And then parents took their kids to see the movie and complained anyway.
Yup.
Thanks, Ryan Reynolds.
Fool.
My mom took my brother, but they didn't complain. I was only 12. Shh, don't tell whoever's in charge of that. I don't know. But yeah, it was a big deal when it came out that it was going to be R-rated because it's a Marvel movie. Those are supposed to be very accessible to like pretty much everyone who likes superheroes. And to a lot of people, that translates as this is a superhero movie. It must be for kids. But that really hasn't been the case in the comics because the comics deal with a ton of mature material. It's just because we've been moving stuff to movies and people still see it as, oh, it's a kid's thing. But no, they're trying to recreate the material honestly. And honestly, it's not super appropriate for little ones. When it came out that it would be R-rated, they were afraid that it would hurt ticket sales, but it didn't. People were hyped. It did very well, and it was really fun.
And interestingly, started this trend of other movies that are relevant to Star coming out around Valentine's Day, which wasn't really a time when the sort of movies that appeal to Star's core demographic come out. So good job, Deadpool.
It was a snowstorm when we went. That was scary. Yeah.
So, in one of the recent kids' Spider-Man cartoons, there's an episode of Deadpool that sort of did the opposite, where he didn't want to say the word kill, even though he was allowed to, even though they showed him sense the word kill. Spider-Man said it. He used unalive instead. So he was saying unalive, and then Spider-Man said, "You mean kill?"
That's a really cool thing because, like, that's very true to his character. Where if he has to watch his mouth, he's gonna really watch his mouth and be careful that those kids don't hear anything violent or upsetting.
And
Which is, yeah.
no, that is kind of interesting because like PG-13 versus R, it's the sort of profanity that we've been talking about. But when you're going from like G to PG, talking about killing and death is one of the things that can push you up to PG.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We should preface this by saying, if you're not caught up, we're not talking spoilers for the new season here.
I'm not caught up. Don't do this.
If you are caught up, you can totally talk about that with your friends after. Just say, please don't spoil Rick and Morty for people.
Peace among worlds.
Peace among worlds.
But also, it's kind of cool because, I mean, Rick and Morty plays with that whole idea that, like, oh, this is a cartoon, and a lot of people think cartoons are for kids, but they don't have to be, like, at all. And this one really isn't at all. Yeah, like a bunch. I mean, Rick and Morty is basically a cartoon for grown-ups who want to feel smart, because it does that. It can make you feel pretty smart. But also, they use a lot of profanity, but they also do jokes about it, like peace among worlds, because to these lovely green people, that's not mean. Nice. We're just going to use that all the time, and to them, no, that's not cursing. It's like Belgium. They are Belgium.
But like actually, because there are a lot of gestures that are offensive in the US that aren't offensive elsewhere, and a lot of gestures that are normal here that are offensive elsewhere. For example, like US, but this is offensive in Britain. It's basically their version of peace among worlds.
Yeah. But yeah, Rick and Morty is a good time, and they use a lot of profanity. Like, so much.
So much.
So much.
And it is.
That's kind of an interesting one, though, because a lot of people sort of assumed that it's like, oh, that probably means something awful.
No, we kind of just assume it's like a thing he shouts, and like, then you find out what it means. And,
They explained it at the end of season 1, as I recall.
yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
Doesn't remind me of the music game.
Wasn't it like?
I am in great pain.
Yeah, I am in great pain. Please help me.
But they're smart about it because they sort of set your expectations and then they crash right through them. Because it's like, oh, Rick, he's this asshole who's just smart, but the worst. Worst. So it's like, he's saying this dumb thing. It probably means something rude. No, it's sad.
Which this is, again, tasteful isn't the word I would use at all, but it is a slightly more thoughtful approach to profanity because they're intentionally not using profanity as much in the way that a lot of the earlier shows do. He uses normal English profanity, and so when he's using an alien phrase, when he does use an alien phrase, you can do something interesting with it.
Mm-hmm. So we would like to open it up to discussion about what other sci-fi profanity have you heard about? What did we miss?
In terms of meetup, in DC Comics, they termize bastard and bitch to bastard, which is the catchphrase of Lobo.
I love that.
You can say both of them at once without actually breaking any rules.
That's
Yeah.
funny. It's like, goddamn, you squish them together, and it's like, that's not a problem if you say them together.
You can
Star
say
Wars
more.
has an official published list of their profanity on their website.
Oh, excellent.
Slimo, Slideball, Space, which is knocked off by the Mafia. Of course, Nerf Herder from episode 5. Carablast, which is an alien exclamation. All the weird things that Huts say. Voodoo, cripping, and Ichuta. The most, to quote this, is. Well, it's interesting that there's no actual definition of it yet. It very well may be a rude, violent expression that no one has ever been proud enough to openly define.
We did talk when we were working on this about Nerf Herder and couldn't quite nail down whether it was necessarily like a curse or just a diss. Like,
If it is rude or just what Han Solo is.
I don't think it's that bad. I think every HTC player is a nerd herder.
hey, shout out to HVZ this Saturday, invitational at RIT.
In addition to killing off much of the main cast, had one instance of oh shit to secure
Oh.
PG rating.
Oh,
And also speaking of Transformers, they use the word
Wait,
flag.
Wait, sorry, hold on. The first Transformers movie was PG?
Yeah, for me.
Oh.
Animated.
Oh,
The
that
animated one.
animated. Okay, that makes more sense.
Well, I just want to say, no, that's nerds.
yeah.
Yeah. They always use that. I thought it was interesting. I think it's really fun. So, I'm actually from the Little Kids movie.
Like, the Smurfs is what you were saying? Yeah.
You know how they say, like, oh, my Smurf. or-
Yeah, Smurf is basically the silver word for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came up also when we were working out.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because they use it so much that they do use it in the place of profanity, but they also use it in the place of everything else. So they get away with a lot because they can sort of have more inappropriate connotations while it's still a kid show because I just used that to mean hat, but now I'm using it to mean maybe something else.
There was the one use of bitch in Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yes, and it was excellent. And I think much like Wolverine, that really increases the impact it can have. If Deadpool said that, or if Rick said that, it wouldn't have the impact. But when Molly Weasley says that, you know you messed up.
This is sci-fi club, not fantasy club.
Let us talk about Harry Potter for a minute.
We're opening it to more general discussion. It is, if you want to link it back to sci-fi, it is similar to the Wolverine phenomenon.
Now, I will say there
Oh,
is
sorry.
technically Ron's bloody hell, but they don't
Yes.
count that.
All right, sorry, we got someone.
With Rick and Morty, there's a point in the episode
Sorry,
where
hold
they
on.
have
Vincent, can you wait a second? There's someone in front who's been waiting too.
in Rick and Morty, there's the episode where they have the whole house party, and I think Summer says flip-flops sort of as like a joke, and Rick tells her not to say that, and then greets some of his friends with what's up my flip-flops.
Yeah, two of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did we talk about Lilo and Stitch?
No.
Literally, anytime speaking this alien language, he's literally just cursing at them violently, and they're also offended whenever they want to talk to him.
Stitch is rude. I'm not surprised. Like, oh.
I actually didn't know that.
When the aliens fuck you when they went to trial in the first scene.
Oh yeah. No, Stitch is rude.
And
Stupid head.
And in the spin-offs of Lilo and Stitch, common alien curse.
Yeah.
Transformers, they'll often use slag as both the term for molten metal, but also an incredibly offensive transformer curse word.
Oh.
So it depends on the context of what they're saying.
Yeah, I think context is a lot for the different shows we've been talking about where, like, you want something to have this strong meaning, so maybe you pick something that sounds like a curse that you use a lot, but that it sort of loses its impact, or you give yourself a PG-13 so that you can curse, like, really strongly one time and have that, like, that was bright, and have this is the important rude thing. But it's cool, because context is everything, especially with this. Oh, hi.
Wait, were you expecting a different slide?
No, I didn't
Okay.
expect it to change.
Sorry, it seemed relevant. Yeah.
So, I don't know how many of you have read Yahtzee Crowshaw's work, but his
Yeah.
latest book, Will Save the Galaxy for Food.
Oh, I haven't read that one. I've only read Mod Golden Jam.
Yeah, so part of it is that there's the star pilots who are the, the lone renegades who go out and save planets, the heroes of the universe. And they all become unemployed because of quantum tunneling, so people can just teleport around, so they don't need star pilots anymore to explore the galaxy. So they start using math terms in order to supplement their cursing. So multiplication, subtraction, division all become curse words, and they do like, these flying people, people as multiplying, or divs are like idiots.
That's so cool.
Nice, I like that.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good book, I highly recommend.
Yeah, I haven't read that, but the other books I read by Yahtzee are excellent. I know Jam, his book about an apocalypse caused by jam, was brought up during last week's Apocalypses in Sci-Fi. And his first book, Mod World, is if you like MMORPGs, you'll appreciate stuff. If you like good books, you'll still probably appreciate it. He just writes really fun stuff.
Yeah.
You guys said earlier that Belgium was a swear word.
Yes, in Hitchhiker's Guide.
It was also used as a swear word in Gravity Falls. Well, it was like when Greg was and it was like sticky and radioactive. He's like, well, specifically he says hot dogs and waffles, then he realizes he's alone, and he's like, maybe he decides to swear for real before he's cut off.
That's cool. I bet that was totally like.
I could, knowing the Gravity Falls writer,
They're such
I
nerds.
totally believe it was a record. I
And
don't
I
know.
remember that. I love Gravity Falls. Man.
Yeah, I totally forgot that happened.
So good.
Tulio.
Taylor's spirit's called Vogon.
Vogons?
Yes.
What in the world is a Vogon?
No, from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh.
I
I don't know.
know that they're, like, I don't
Lots of
remember
stories.
them cursing. It's been a while since I read Hitchhiker's Guide. I don't remember them cursing. I just know they write painfully bad poetry.
From what I remember,
Oh.
Wait, guys, hold on.
For me.
from what I remember, I don't think it was so much that they curse, so much as that their poetry drained you of, the will to live.
Yeah, that's what I meant. They just have, like, painfully bad poetry.
That's a different kind of offensive.
They,
Taylor's saying stuff. One sec.
yeah,
Oh,
hold on,
okay.
holding up Slack.
And the words they say goes back in time.
The words we say go back in time. I think, are you thinking of I'm like talking to this for her to reply in chat. About when Arthur Dent, like we talked earlier, said something and it goes through a wormhole during peace talks, which then sparks the war.
Oh yeah, it appears to be that.
Yeah, okay, it seems like it's that.
So yeah, Slack is a neat tool.
Slack, if you're
Yeah.
on Slack and not able to attend the mission, you can combine live stream and Slack to still sort of be at the mission.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate you coming here for real. We really do.
I just thought of like what might use real words tastefully, Black Mirror. But like they're very well placed, but there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Black Mirror, it's just sort of, it feels like natural language, which is kind of the point. Is that as much as possible feels normal, except when it clearly isn't.
Black Mirror is cool,
Black
but
Mirror's a really
also
good show.
it's scary. Heck.
Some of it's already happening. Yeah. All right, I thought I saw something over here. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, could you speak up?
Did you say Mass Effect?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I am not familiar enough with Mass Effect, but you're saying basically they also have made up persons in a made up language?
Okay, so it's from like a different language that they made up. It's not just like, these are English words now.
Yeah.
That's cool.
No, that's cool. Yeah, it is worth noting, like, Klingon isn't the only made-up language with made-up curse words. It just happens to be the biggest one, but yeah, games, I didn't know, I haven't played enough Mass Effect to know that. But yeah, that is a thing that a lot of people do. It's an easy way to get out of sensors. Although Mass Effect has other reasons besides language to get on the censor's radar.
I think it's kind of interesting seeing like which sci-fi makes up a whole new language in order to curse. Okay? It's kind of interesting to see like what sci-fi makes up a whole new language in order to curse, or stuff like BSG and Farscape, which is just like, and Doctor Who, which is just like, these are part of the English language now, which that's really cool. Are you going to go all the way into maybe doing what Firefly did, and it's like, we made this alien language and people speak English, but they curse in this new language so that we can get away with it?
Well, Firefly is just like, in the future, people speak a combination of languages.
Kind of. Some of their pronunciation is bad. Just bad.
It's future Chinese.
No, it's just bad.
I mean, yeah. But you can make up explanations, like people try to make up an etymology of frat.
But it's interesting in Firefly because they know that they're using it in a way that it sounds like cursing all the time. But I remember watching one exchange, and I was watching this with someone who was like, you know Chinese, so you can translate all of it. And I went, no. Because I don't know. But there's one exchange between, I think Mal and Simon, where one of them goes, dui bu dui, and the other goes, dui. And dui bu dui is like, dui means correct, and bu means no. So it's literally correct, not correct. It's sort of used as a, like,
right?
No, more of a like,
You understand?
Yes. More of a like, you understand, and then you either say dui, or I understand, or bu dui, which is no. But it could also be used in more of a like, you got it kind of thing. So it's used in that context, and it's like, because I don't remember where it's used, but I think it was used in the context of like, you're still sticking with us, you're still not going to give us up to everyone who's trying to kill us. But it's neat because like, it sounds like they're cursing, but they're having like a legitimate exchange that someone who has taken like 2 years of Chinese could understand, and that was cool.
And it does help whether you're pulling in another language from like another real human language or another alien language, or just making up a lot of slang. It helps make your fake curse words stand out less. And honestly, like, you could also do that and not curse. Like the few parts of Pacific Rim where there's Japanese, like, kind of stand out because they're just not the same language people have been speaking for the whole rest of the movie. Now I'm just wondering how, like, I assume there was a Japanese dub, so you're like, are those parts in English? But that's a whole separate issue.
That always confused me when I watched Dora when I was little. I was so confused. It's like, but in Spanish. Is it all in Spanish? Or did they switch that to English? I would freak out about this. Like, little 5-year-old Ava was freaking out.
So if you have a developed language like Klingon, or a developed set of slang beyond cursing, like Farscape, or even more so Battlestar Galactica, where dogs are daggons. Why? I don't know, but it makes their collection of slang feel more complete and not just invented to dodge the SEC. Yeah.
So there's this role-playing game called Shadowrun, which is like a few decades into the future. But like there's like what?
The Shadowrun?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shadowrun. I think we've done that with Star in the past.
I wasn't there.
Okay.
Well, like it's a few have like keyboards that kind of evolve into the curse words like drag is shit, drag has become fuck, poop is ass for some reason, but also like they use like trog as like a racial slur for like the trolls that have appeared.
Oh.
Trolls and orcs are trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do get those, like I said earlier, that you'll also get terms for different groups, usually minority groups or just groups that are somehow different. Certainly a lot of sci-fi has derogatory terms for either androids or cyborgs in cultures where they're not accepted.
Because sci-fi talks about real world issues with not real world things, but it likes to bring it back because stay relevant. Be good messages. Be good messages. Be good messages. Bear down.
Is he going to the back? Or okay, yeah.
Speaking of derogatory terms for like android stuff, I know Fall of War is very popular, but I love the derogatory term for synths as chromosomes. I don't know why, it's just entertaining.
I mean, that's cool because it's like, that's a thing that people say, like, it's similar to, isn't it for like people who are bald?
Yeah.
Isn't that a thing you say? But that's cool because they took it and they used it as, they took it and they made it into something else, which is really cool.
What you get in a lot of media, but it reminded me of how Battlestar Galactica, they refer to the Cylons as toasters, right?
Yeah.
In Star Wars, they refer to the battle droids as clankers because they clank when they move.
Yeah. Yes, you can also say those fracking toasters instead of fracking Cylons. Yeah.
Yeah. His bringing up Shadowrun just reminded me of one that's used very rarely. A heavily cybernetically modified person is referred to as a bat job because they have to be put in a bat in order to apply all that.
Like in, what's it?
Shadowrun.
Okay, I was going to say Dark Run, but that sounded wrong because it is wrong. Yeah, but language is really neat, and it's cool to explore language through like how we curse and how we express anger, whether it be screaming or screaming profanities.
Screaming?
Screaming.
No.
Screaming. A lot of sci-fi and a lot of shows they just yell. Another word, just yell. Because that works pretty well.
The line of the Wilhelms in Star Wars, constantly getting thrown off.
Taylor also had another thing. It's sort of tangentially sci-fi, because as I recall, they don't explain in it whether the zombies have a sci-fi origin, but the show In the Flesh has a lot of derogatory terms for rehabilitated zombies. So like people who, like undead, came back as zombies, but then have regained their old minds and are now basically normal citizens, are called rotters or rabbits. And Taylor is excited that I noticed that she posted to Slack. You're welcome. But yeah, that's another interesting one. There tend to be there was a whole sketch by the group Studio C about this. A lot of slang terms for how to refer to zombies, whether they're walkers or the undead or just them.
It gets confusing.
It's sliding around like here. Here, Zulies?
Zulies?
I'm called them anything else.
I mean, if you play HVZ, Humans vs. Zombies at RT, even there you'll get into arguments about whether they are zombies, Zed, Z's, Zambonis. The list goes on. Sorry, what? Okay, yeah.
House of the Dead series, mutants.
Hmm?
Or at least in overkill. I think one scene where somebody was about to say zombies and Parker was like, mutants, don't use the Z word.
It's offensive.
But if you call them something that doesn't start with Z, how do you have World War Z, War Z, Daisy, and so on?
Daisy?
Day space Z.
Daisy.
Sure.
Is it about flowers?
No.
Do they make the joke? Do they just ignore that?
I don't know.
Do they just ignore that it's Daisy?
I don't know, but I want a game called, or a movie or a book called DAISY that's about zombies.
Do they just ignore that it sounds like Daisy?
Probably.
I need to know. Oh my god.
I think your joke was funny.
It is an obvious pun. I don't think they use it.
I think they also say like crowd is actually 2 words instead of 1.
I didn't know.
It is 2 words,
It's not worth it.
but I mean, to be fair, it's the apocalypse. They're busy. I mean, I would make puns in an apocalypse, but maybe they don't.
It's the alpacalypse.
Not again. I don't know. Froyo, are you allowed to make puns in the apocalypse?
Always allowed to make
Depends
fun.
if something's not gnawing on your arm at the moment.
But like otherwise, you're good?
Yeah.
Cool. Froyo says yes.
Cool. I mean, I was going to do it even if he said no. Cool. All right.
All right. If there are no more questions, like you guys are welcome.
Actually, it's a really question just like to add something, right?
Yeah, totally.
You were talking earlier about how different universes have different languages. They have their own language structure, I guess. Then you have Harry Potter, Wizard's Card, where people muggles.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It brought out Mongols. They call like older little kids call older adults Mongols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was cool how each one kind of has their own.
Yeah. No, that is really interesting because like that totally happens with language, not only in fiction. Because used anymore, but like the youngins used to call old people like fogies, and that was a thing. That's not a thing anymore. That's not a thing.
The fogies used to call the young people youngins.
Yeah. Usually that stuff is kind of brought back ironically, but that's kind of cool because language because people evolve language to like so that we have words for the things that we do, like selfies. That wasn't a word like a bunch of years ago because it wasn't needed as a word, but now it is. And same thing with the way that we insult people. Like it evolves, which is cool because language is ever changing.
Speaking of how language evolves with insults, in the term jaywalking, jay was supposedly a slur that just turned into a legal term.
Yeah.
But it was a slur for people of Irish descent, right?
Yeah.
But you couldn't say, like, they wanted to discourage walking in the streets because people get hit by cars. So they were like, I know, we'll call it Irish walking, then it'll sound really bad. No, we'll be worse. We'll call it jaywalking. And
people didn't want to be associated with that term because it was a pretty awful thing to call someone.
And now it's just a thing. But like, yeah, today if they would pick, a derogatory slur for some group for which such a term still is used, and then in 50 years people would forget about it.
Yeah. Or bring it back as a joke. Or change the meaning of it, which that happens with language all the time because language changes. It's really cool. Language is cool, guys.
Yes.
Are there any more questions, comments?
Anyone at the table? Okay.
Because
sorry that you're blocked by like a pillar that you can't see.
you guys are welcome to stick around afterwards, hang out and chat. But we decided to end it on
if you know Peter Capaldi was cast as the Doctor, and before we knew what sort of Doctor he was going to be, we were sort of going by his work he was known for in the show The Thick of It. So before we end this off, I just want to say we hope you enjoyed this look into creative curses that exist in sci-fi. If you're the sort of person who generally tends to stick to just one curse word, we hope this might have encouraged you to broaden your horizon and add some new Feldercarb to your Sarking vocabulary. And with that,
Which
Thank you very much.
Which is the non-official catchphrase of the 12th Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and I have some closing star comments. You don't have to. You're welcome to keep walking around like it's okay. Next week we're going to be talking about speculative biology. We're going to be talking about look and like what we expect of aliens and what would be more realistic for aliens. Our presenter for next week was here, but he had to skedaddle. He does a good job though. Yeah?
It will also be the start of our Scooby month.
It will. This October we are doing spooky missions. We're going to be talking about.
Are we still speaking?
Blade Runner?
Yeah. We're still totally on Blade Runner. But we're also talking about like cosmic horror.
Stranger Things. And we're going to have a costume contest on the mission right before Halloween, which is fun. You don't have to come in a costume, but if you do, we do a little costume contest. It's nice. We have prizes for that. But thank you for coming.
And don't forget, if you want to buy Star Membership
That
or
is this
Star
Friday at 5
Membership,
p.m. in Gosnell.
isn't the Matthew Irrational shirt?
Is that a time to go haircut?
And remember
I
to
just
join
learned about it
Slack,
showing up like tomorrow.
chat.rtstar.com. You
so
can sign up for our
excited.
email and
I'm
get
so
it
excited to get
for
mine.
a whole week.
I am like so excited to get mine. Like,
Yeah, and if you don't want to do it, links is linked from the email, it's linked from the website.
It's not
nice. I think I got like one of the silver ones. Is that this one?
Yeah, they are out.
PR committee is every Wednesday at 8 p.m. It's going to be in room 1010 this week. Yeah, it's right downstairs.
Sci-fi themed?
We usually try to do sci-fi themed, but you don't have to. We encourage it. But yeah. 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 But a lot of groups do cosplay contests right before Halloween. A300. Thank you. With the what?
Bugaboo was his companion.
No, it's okay. RIT star? What's it? Yep.
I think if I wanted to like not curse but still express extreme rage, I just did a cigar where screaming incomparable gibberish. Like
Excellent.
The first one was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've read some of it, like the beginning part. I got to where he hurt his hearing, and it was like, yeah, with his brother. I think his brother was there. Yeah. And then like I couldn't find the rest, but I'm gonna look for them again when I have time. Oh, we didn't stop that. Bye, Taylor, and anyone else who's watching.